Shohei Ohtani was once a crybaby. Looking at him now, it is almost impossible to imagine. The home run king, the two-way phenomenon, his name dominates the headlines every single day. Do you know exactly when he became this monster? Thin as a matchstick, wearing a uniform that seemed too large for him. Japan once told him that being a two-way player was impossible. He broke his elbow, knee, and he suffered longer than anyone else. And yet, he kept standing back up. Today we reveal the full story, how a weeping young boy transformed into the monster that makes the world tremble.
The crybaby monster?
A rural town in Iwate Prefecture. As the brief northern summer was beginning to stir, a son was born to a father who played corporate league baseball and a mother who was an elite national-level badminton player. A baby boy was born into this family of athletes, Shohei. A large baby weighing nearly 3,500 grams. The nickname given in early childhood to the man who would later shake the world was simply Crybaby. It is inconceivable given his majestic presence today. But deep within those tears, the archetype of a monster was already lurking. In kindergarten, his parents bought him a Harry Potter notebook. Shohei cherished it like a sacred treasure. One day, the corner of the cover peeled just a tiny bit, a blemish so small an adult wouldn't even notice. But to Shohei, it was a catastrophe equivalent to the end of the world. He wailed as if possessed, trying to fix it by coloring it himself, but it didn't go as planned. He cried louder, thrashing and rolling across the floor. Watching this, his mother realized he wasn't just an ordinary child. He simply could not settle for anything less than perfection. He could not tolerate even the slightest deviation from his internal ideal, that extraordinary perfectionism and hatred of losing. The talent that would one day teach despair to pitchers and hitters worldwide was quietly sprouting from that tantrum over a Harry Potter notebook. We all likely remember something similar. The things we found unforgivable as children. Trivial to an adult, but the most important thing in the world to us. This is where Ohtani's perfectionism began.
The sanctuary of home.
So how did his parents raise such a child? Here lies the greatest clue to decoding the man known as Shohei Ohtani. His father and mother were not merely indulgent. However, what triggered their anger was fundamentally different from other households. One day, when Shohei became frustrated and tried to throw away his precious notebook, shouting, "I don't need this," his father raised his voice for the first time. Someone who does not value their possessions can never achieve anything. He never got angry about grades or batting averages, but he never compromised on a person's fundamental attitude. His father says, "We didn't do anything special. We just believe children grow up watching their parents say good morning and thank you." His mother, Kayoko, adds, "There was nothing extraordinary. We simply treated them with love and affection. Even if he ran wild in the living room or jumped on the sofa, his parents would just smile. It was because he had this absolute comfort zone at home that he developed a mentality that would not break, no matter how much the outside world criticized him." Second grade, the gears of destiny began to turn. The day he went to watch the local Mizusawa Little League practice. He said with sparkling eyes, "I want to play baseball with this team too." This was the moment history began to move. And then a single notebook began traveling back and forth between father and son. The baseball notebook was an exchange diary between father and son. His father knew that a son entering adolescence would rebel if told things directly. So he entrusted his thoughts to the written word. Reflections on games, good points, areas for improvement, goals for the next match. What was written there wasn't just about mechanics. It was about greetings, attitude, and how to treat teammates. And through that notebook, his father imposed 3 promises upon Shohei. First, play energetically and with a loud voice. Second, practice playing catch with all your heart. Third, run at full speed. These were neither advanced techniques nor abstract philosophies of grit. They were the minimum standards to be upheld as a human being before being a baseball player. Shohei Ohtani kept these 3 promises until he graduated from Little League. Or rather, to be precise, he is still keeping them today. Dodger Stadium. Even in a historic game with 50-50 on the line, he encouraged his team louder than anyone. He meticulously went through his pre-game catch and aimed for the next base with full effort at every opportunity. Even as the world's greatest superstar, what he does is exactly the same as the promises he made with his father on that field in Iwate. He is simply, honestly continuing to do them. We all had those obvious things told to us by parents or teachers. Greet people. Keep your promises. Don't cut corners. But how many people have continued them for 30 years without fail? Shohei Ohtani did. That is why he became the best in the world. A coach from the swimming school he attended as a child saw him from a different perspective. That boy would have succeeded even if it wasn't baseball. In the swimming classes he started in kindergarten. Shohei improved at an extraordinary speed. He was simply masterful at using his body. He swam in a way that minimized water resistance without being taught. The coach said he genuinely believed Shohei could have aimed for the Olympics. The phenomenon was already happening during his Little League days. At the Mizusawa Little League field, a river flows past the right field fence. It was a distance of about 65 meters, absolutely unreachable for an ordinary elementary schooler. But every time Shohei swung the bat, the ball effortlessly cleared the fence and plunged into the water. Shohei, we're going to run out of balls. Because balls disappeared into the river so frequently, the team's equipment budget became a serious concern. The exasperated coach made a suggestion. Shohei, your pulling power is too strong. If pulling the ball to the right sends it into the river, just hit it the other way to the left. He was asking an elementary school student to control his home runs, a feat difficult even for professionals. But Shohei did it effortlessly. If I hit it to the opposite field, it won't go in the river. With that, he began consistently spraying hits in the opposite direction, polishing one's batting technique just to avoid losing balls. It sounds like a scene from a manga. It sounds like a joke, but this was reality. Where else could you find an elementary schooler who could actually do that? There was one more major turning point. His father made a suggestion to Shohei, who was originally a right-handed hitter. Why don't you try hitting left-handed? The reason was simple. You're closer to first base, increasing the probability of a hit. Ichiro was a lefty. Hideki Matsui was a lefty. If it's an advantage, do it. Shohei immediately took on the challenge of the left-handed batter's box. The view and balance are completely different between right and left. Normally, your form would collapse and results would vanish. But he was different. Immediately after switching to left-handed hitting, he began producing a string of sharp cracks of the bat. In fact, the ball was traveling even further than when he hit right-handed. His father says he still remembers that sight vividly. Everything I taught him was absorbed like a dry sponge soaking up water. What would normally take 3 years, Shohei would master in 3 days. The standard growth curve simply did not apply to this boy. This is where the true story begins. By the time he entered junior high, his existence became impossible to hide. In national tournaments, his velocity already exceeded 130 kilometers per hour, and whenever he swung the bat, the ball left the park. Professional scouts were already haunting the stands. One scout left a note from that time written in trembling script. A monster. A guaranteed first-round pick. Elite schools from across the country clamored for the young Ohtani. Yet he did not choose a powerhouse from outside Iwata Prefecture. I will be number 1 in Japan. I will throw 160 kilometers per hour. With that declaration, he headed to his local school, Hanamaki Higashi High School. Waiting for him, there was a mentor who would completely rewrite his values.
The Hanamaki Higashi tradition, Hell's White Rice.
Hiroshi Sasaki, the head coach of the Hanamaki Higashi baseball team. He was more than just a passionate coach. He was an educator, a motivator with a deep philosophy. The first thing this man had the newly enrolled Ohtani do was not throw in the bullpen nor swing a bat. It was to fill out a goal achievement sheet, a mandala chart, often used in the business world. In the center of the 9x9 grid, Ohtani wrote without hesitation, "To be a first-round draft pick." An extraordinary goal for a high schooler. But this is where the inner workings of Shohei Ohtani's mind become fascinating. He filled the surrounding squares with the elements necessary to achieve that goal. Physical conditioning, control, sharpness, technical items lined the chart. But it didn't end there. Character, mentality, words you won't find in a baseball technical manual were written as a matter of course. Looking closer at the section for luck, he had listed picking up trash, cleaning his room, attitude toward umpires, reading books, and becoming a person people want to cheer for. A 15-year-old boy understood that luck does not fall from the sky. It is something you summon through your daily actions. Coach Sasaki would always say, "Do the things that others hate to do. Work hard when no one is watching. That is what brings luck." American fans are amazed when they see Ohtani casually picking up trash on the field during a major league game. Is he a wizard? Why does he do that? To Ohtani, it isn't a performance at all. He is simply picking up the luck that someone else dropped. The philosophy he forged in high school continues to drive his routine today. How do you perceive luck? At 15, Shohei Ohtani believed luck was something earned through effort. So he picks up trash. He gives greetings. As a result, he became the best player in the world. Is this a mere coincidence? And there is one more number that defined his life. 163 kilometers per hour. approximately 101 miles per hour. Upon his enrollment, Coach Sasaki told Ohtani, "Your goal is 163 kilometers per hour. At the time, the high school record was 157 kilometers per hour at Koshin. Even among pros, only a handful could throw 160. By any common standard, it was an insane number. But Coach Sasaki was serious. If you make 160 your goal, you'll end at 158. Only by aiming for 163 does 160 come into view. Do not set your own limits. Do not just blindly accept the world's numbers." That message was etched deeply into Ohtani's body and soul. However, building a body capable of throwing 163 was no easy task. When he started, Ohtani was over 180 centimeters tall, but weighed only in the 60-kilogram range. His uniform was baggy. He was so thin that a gust of wind might blow him away. At this rate, he couldn't compete at a national level, let alone the pros. What awaited him was the Hanamaki Higashi specialty, Hell's Meal training. The regimen was simple and merciless. 10 bowls a day, 3 bowls of rice for breakfast, 3 for lunch, and 4 for dinner. Forcing 10 bowls into his stomach every single day. It is said there was even a special menu for the lanky Ohtani. In the dormitory cafeteria, Ohtani shoveled down the rice with tears in his eyes. Then came the summer of his senior year. The moment arrived suddenly. A single pitch released from the set position. Fastball, low and inside. The stadium speed gun flashed. 160. The first 160 kilometers per hour pitch in high school history. It wasn't a murmur, but a roar bordering on a scream that shook the stands. Scouts behind the plate did a double take. Was it a mistake? No, it was real. Some even suspected the speed gun was broken. It was the moment a number usually seen only in video games lit up the real scoreboard. But stories don't always end conveniently. In the final against Morioka Daiichi, Ohtani pitched, he hit, and he lost. He missed Koshin by a single step. Yet, he was looking forward. His gaze was already fixed on the world that lay beyond Koshin. Autumn 2012. Before the draft meeting, Ohtani held a press conference. "I am going to the majors in the U.S." It was effectively a letter of resignation to the Japanese baseball world. Reckless. He'll never make it. He's disrespecting Japanese pro baseball. Criticism blew in like a storm. Japanese teams began to solidify their policy of avoiding his nomination, knowing he would refuse to join. "We can't waste a first-round pick here." Everyone believed Ohtani was headed for America. And yet, October 25th, draft day, Shohei Ohtani's name appeared on the monitor alongside the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters. The venue erupted in a commotion, a forced nomination. Only Nippon Ham, led by manager Hideki Kuriyama, gambled on the possibility. Ohtani's expression was stern. "I appreciate the evaluation, but my feelings haven't changed. The possibility of me joining is 0. He was resolute. But from here a great reversal began, one that would change the course of Japanese baseball forever.
Challenging the impossible, the revolution.
Hideki Kuriyama. Without this man, the two-way Shohei Ohtani would not exist today. Despite Ohtani's firm refusal, the team attempted to persuade him again and again. Even when they were turned away at the door, the team did not stop. However, Kuriyama had a conviction. We must not let him go to the majors right now as he is. There is a high chance his talent will be worn down and wasted. The harshness of the American minors, the language barrier, the environment. He intensely feared a future where this jewel of a talent would be chipped away before it could be polished. A Nippon Ham official told Kuriyama, "Kuriyama-san, taking Shohei in means we are taking responsibility for Japan's national treasure. If we fail, we'll have to answer for it with our lives." That was the level of their resolve. The team compiled a top-secret document. Shohei-kun, The Path to Your Dream. It contained a thorough analysis of historical data. It argued that the success rate is higher for those who build a record in Japan before moving, rather than going directly from high school. Using examples of Japanese successes and failures, they used numbers to prove that now is not the time for Ohtani to go to MLB. But it wasn't the data that truly moved Ohtani's heart. It was a single phrase from Kuriyama. "Let's walk a path no one has ever walked. Be both a pitcher and a hitter. The two-way way." The moment those words were spoken, Ohtani's eyes wavered slightly. In the majors, he would be forced to choose one. But at Nippon Ham, he could aim for both. To become the best player in the world. That was Ohtani's dream. In that case, it was better to aim for the summit in a way no one had ever done. Two-way. To him, that term might have held the same allure as a legendary weapon from the fantasy novels he read as a boy. December 25th, 2012. Christmas Day. Shohei Ohtani announced he would join the Nippon Ham Fighters. He was given the number 11, the ace's number previously worn by Yu Darvish. From here, the two-way path began, a journey of both heresy and glory. Think about this for a moment. If manager Kuriyama hadn't been there, if Nippon Ham hadn't forced the nomination, Ohtani might have gone to America at 18 and been crushed in the minors. 2013, his rookie year. From the very first day of spring training, the number of media cameras was staggering. But even more intense was the fierce counterpunch from the baseball establishment. Legends of the Japanese game barked, "If you think pro baseball is a joke, you'll learn that being a two-way player is impossible. He should focus on one thing. He'll be mediocre at both. He'll get injured. He'll be a burden to the team." Television and newspapers overflowed daily with rhetoric denying the possibility of the two-way dream. But the moment he saw Ohtani take batting practice, his expression changed. "The sound of the bat is different. He's hitting it further than I am." With a single swing, the monster silenced even his own teammates. Opening day 2013. He started in right field, the first rookie out of high school to start for the franchise in 54 years. He immediately racked up 2 hits. Shortly after, he made his debut as a pitcher. He clocked 157 kilometers per hour, sending a shockwave through Japan. He can actually do it. The public sentiment began to shift, but the true revolution was yet to come. In his fifth professional year, a legendary season arrived that would be etched into the history of the fighters. As a hitter, a .322 average and 22 home runs. As a pitcher, 10 wins, 4 losses, and a 1.86 ERA. Seeing these numbers side by side still defies logic. And then in the Japan Series finals, 165 kilometers per hour flashed on the scoreboard. The Sapporo Dome shook. 165 kilometers per hour, the fastest in Japanese history. Even his breaking balls exceeded 150 kilometers per hour. Batters flinched at his sliders, and his splitters vanished as if swallowed by the earth. It was a performance that made you wonder if he was even playing the same sport. After retiring the final batter, he stood tall on the mound like a guardian deity. His presence held total command over the summit of Japanese baseball, a national championship, MVP, and the unprecedented feat of being named to the best 9 as both a pitcher and a designated hitter. He didn't argue with the naysayers. He silenced them with sheer ability. Before long, everyone was an Ohtani supporter. In 5 years in Japan, he proved that the word impossible is merely a synonym for something that hasn't had a precedent yet. Entering 2017, Ohtani held another press conference. "I will challenge the major leagues." The challenge that was slammed as reckless 5 years ago had transformed into a nationwide expectation of sending forth Japan's greatest masterpiece. But the world had not yet seen Shohei Ohtani in his true monster mode. The American media was cold. A hitter at the level of Japanese high school baseball won't stand a chance. Two-way? What's that? A New York columnist wrote, "He doesn't know the harshness of the big leagues. He'll be back in Japan soon." This was the beginning of Ohtani's true descent into hell.